Hello everyone, I'm Keith Park. Welcome to Print Your World. Today we're going to discuss something very interesting. I've been promising a leveling video for a while, so here it is. Oh, wait a second. Most of you are thinking, wow, that looks really level. It is, but that's not the leveling we care about. No, actually, you know, the leveling we care about is this thing's level, the bed. The bed itself is not necessarily always going to be the same level as the frame, but it needs to be level relative to the nozzle. So this is the point that we're going to get to about discussing with leveling, because throughout the whole printing process you want your whole surface to be as level and flat as possible, so that when you're applying down filament it does it with the same evenness or thickness from one end of it to the other. So to achieve that, first off, we need to be under the current printing conditions that you would expect to go and find when printing. So that means we have to heat up the heat bed, which is made of aluminum in this case, and I have a glass bed on this one, although it could be of other materials. And I'm also going to heat up the hot end. Now, the reason why you're doing this is because these things will slightly warp or change shape when they're heated. Glass will often try to conform with the surface that it's put upon when it's heated up. So if we're going to go and take, for example here, this aluminum bed, if it is slightly has a bend in it or a dip in it, the glass heated up over time will start to dip. So that's one of the things you need to think about. We need to have it heated. Now you're going to sit there going saying, oh my gosh, well what do I do if there is a dip in the bed? Don't worry, we're going to talk about that towards the end of the video. For now, I'm going to first start off by telling you what we should be for next steps. Now, after you've heated it on up the way I've described, you want to bring your hot end nozzle to the center of the bed. You'll see, if you look closely enough, which probably you can't see, but the nozzle tip is almost touching the surface of the bed here. All right? It is far enough away that if I was to put a piece of paper there, I can still slide it under the tip of the nozzle. But if I try to move it around, I feel the friction of the nozzle and the bed underneath pushing against the paper. Okay, so that's what we call the paper test for thickness. All right. From there, we go from that point right there to each one of the four corners. Now, there's a caveat to this. Twisting these knobs, when you turn them, is going to bring your bed further away from the nozzle or closer towards the nozzle. All right? As you adjust that and do your paper leveling at each one of the points, it affects the other points. So if you adjust this here, it also changes the measurement values at the other 4 points, including the center. So we don't just do leveling once. A lot of people do that first leveling and they say, oh, I don't understand, why is it not working? Well, because you've only adjusted each one of those corners based upon what they were, not what they are. So I tell people to go through the whole sequence 5 times. For at least the very first time that you go to do bed leveling. And you go and say, well, why? 5 times seems like an awful lot. Well, see, here's the problem that you're facing. If we know that each one of these points adjusts all the other points, until we get it down to a fine tune of having tuned each point, you're not going to get rid of that variance from changing one corner. But when you've done it enough in all 4 corners, that center will also match with it. Now, occasionally you're going to come into circumstances where the bed is still not quite level. Now, in instances like with this Ender 5 Plus, there's an auto bed leveling system that is in it, and you can tell it to go and probe the 16 points of the bed, and it will give you an exact measurement and up to 0.000 millimeters, as I recall. Might even be more precise than that. But the idea behind it is you're trying to look at for what is the levelness of the whole bed. And the purpose behind ABL or BL touch is to go and compensate for the minor variations or changes. Not everyone has that option of a automatic bed leveling, but you know, whether you have automatic bed leveling or you have to manually level it, if you can get rid of those imperfections, you want to. So you're sitting there going like, well, how the heck do I get rid of these imperfections? That's glass and that's aluminum. What the heck? How am I supposed to change that? Do I bend it? Nope. No. That's not what we're looking for. So we're looking for minor changes. That's where you take a little strip of tin foil and you fold it on over in half so you have a thin strip like that. Say one edge is off. It seems to be that, you know, it seems to always be a little bit further away from the nozzle than you want. We'll put that little thin strip of tin foil underneath that glass plate, between the glass plate and that aluminum bed. That aluminum will heat the aluminum, which will still heat the glass. So it won't change the heat profile all the way around. Not very much anyway. But what it will do is it might go and correct for something, an imperfection in either your bed or your glass, that otherwise the ABL has to compensate for. And why would I care about whether or not the ABL, the BL Touch, has to compensate for it? Well, when it finds the variations after it's measured it, it goes up and down, wherever it needs to go and make sure it stays level based upon what it measured. Okay, well, this is a little bit of a problem if you don't want it constantly going up and down, because that puts more wear and tear on your Z-axis motor. So you'd prefer to have as little of that as possible. Hence why you try to have as flat a bed as possible. So now we're going and saying, okay, we must surely be done now, right? Now, you know what, I'm going to provide a link for it down below, but I'm also, if you just want to quickly search for it right now, an MK3 5-point parametric print, or 5-square parametric print. So what we're doing with this here is it allows you to print 5 squares, the corners and the center, and they're also attached by lines of filament. And it goes throughout each one of these areas at a time to allow you to be able to go make minor little adjustments. At this point, they're little tiny tweaks like that will go and change to the filaments a little bit further, a little bit closer to the bed, so it's a little bit thicker or thinner. And that's how we wind up achieving a really beautiful looking first layer. So you know that you are definitely too far if either A, the filament is not sticking to the bed, or there are gaps between the filament lines as it goes down, where it doesn't mesh with the layer that was previously printed right beside it. You know it's a bit too close if it's either A, not printing at all because it's pushed too close to the bed, or if it's squishing the filament so that when it comes on by again to print the next path, it's running into the previous path of filament. And that causes it to scrape up a bit of the filament and causes these little tiny peaks that make your surface feel rough. So you know you have it exactly right when you don't have gaps between them and it doesn't feel rough, it looks smooth. When you've got that first layer perfect, the whole rest of the print should print beautifully for you, as long as you've got the right support and other settings. So with that, everyone, I hope that I helped you understand a little bit about leveling today. It is an important essential 101 when we are dealing with 3D printing. And you know, if there's anything you think I should be adding to it and discuss in a later video, please put it in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the video in general and any ideas and things that you would like. If you liked the video, of course like it. And always, if you have not subscribed, please do, because you know what? I would like to go and see more people come and see these videos so they can share with other people the success and fun of 3D printing. Have a great day!